The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is a mystery novella published in the late 1800s. It focused on three different narrators: Henry Jekyll, Mr. Utterson, and Dr. Lanyon. It investigates a string of strange murders committed by an odd man radiating evil, as well as the strange behaviors of one Dr. Jekyll. The majority of the novella is told through Utterson's eyes, observing a strange face in a window of a house, that same face being seen at several occurrences of murder, and the eventual disappearance and death of Jekyll. Mr. Utterson is a lawyer, and he is haunted by specific words in the will of Jekyll. His conversations with friends and Lanyon lead to an investigation into Jekyll's activities, the passing and letter of Mr. Lanyon, and Jekyll's confession to his experiments in searching for a formula that could separate evil from good in a human. I first read this book in 2013, and after reading it again recently, I decided a comparison between this novel and the musical based upon it would be an interesting video. My introduction to the Jekyll and Hyde musical was in 2014, when a Year 12 music student performed Someone Like You to our Year 7 music class. After that, I was hooked on the song. I listened to the song for years after that, and it was the only thing I knew of the Jekyll and Hyde musical until around 2019, when I decided I wanted to broaden my musical knowledge. I listened to the full Jekyll and Hyde soundtrack, this one with Anthony Warlow, and I liked it. It was cool. With the past year's events, I listened to the soundtrack again, really paid attention to the songs, and I found that I liked it quite a lot. The songs are entrancing, the music is enchanting, and the story is intriguing. I find the whole soundtrack fascinating, and it's always a pleasure to listen to it. I don't know why, but every time I listen to it, whether I'm in a good or a bad mood, I always enjoy the music. There are songs that I sing along to, such as Alive, Bring on the Men, and Someone Like You, and songs that I just enjoy listening to, like The Girls of the Night and The Wedding Reception. Some songs are so beautiful that I want to find sheet music for them and learn to play them on violin. One of my favorite songs is This Is the Moment, which makes me want to cry. I don't know whether it's a good or a bad cry, and also makes me envision myself performing it solo on my violin in a theatre. The song is performed by Jekyll after the Board of Governors reject his theory. He decides to test the formula on himself, and this song is Jekyll speaking about how nothing will stop him now. It's a beautiful song about taking matters into your own hands to prove that you can do things alone, and in Jekyll's case, he wants to prove that his experiment can work. I always think of it as a motivational song, and it makes me smile. Another favorite is Confrontation, not just because it's a fascinating insight into the abilities of the artist playing Jekyll and Hyde, but also because it's a wonderful glimpse into the mind of the two men. This song looks into Jekyll and Hyde as Hyde attempts to take control of the Doctor. You can see in this song that Hyde really loves being alive and that he will stop at absolutely nothing to be able to continue living forever. Jekyll, however, wants to put Hyde to rest, stopping his murderous rampages while also continuing to live as a doctor and soon-to-be husband. The confrontation between these two entities shows how deeply each man wants to live, while also demonstrating how passionately their will overshadows the other. I love the final couple of tune changes, the lines starting with I live inside you forever and it's over now, because they make me want to dance along to them, but also play them on my violin. The Bridge of Alive, being the predecessor to the bridge in Confrontation, is equally as impressive as my previous statement. I can't explain why, but I adore it. It's so creative and lyrically inspiring that I can't help but smile as I listen to it. In this song, Hyde has just emerged, and we witness his movement from confusion to enjoyment. His first words in the song, "What is this feeling of power and drive?" highlight a kind of confusion as he moves through the town. Through the song, Hyde gains more confidence as he begins to realize how alive he feels, and by the end of the song, he rejoices in being Edward Hyde, finally free, finally powerful, and completely alive. The Girls of the Night has the same sense of yearning as wishing you were somehow here again in the Phantom of the Opera. The women want different lives than the ones they have, but they don't have any way to change the manner in which they live. In this way, they resign themselves to this career, despite the fact that it wasn't what they wanted. In the same way, Christine in the Phantom of the Opera wanted her father to return, but she knows that can never happen, and has resigned herself to trying to move on from her father's death. Both songs describe a desire to change something, but a knowledge that the change can't happen, and the acceptance of staying in that life. The Jekyll and Hyde soundtrack highlights many themes, such as a desire to be believed in, a need to survive, a dream to change life, and the acceptance that things won't change. While the soundtrack is wonderful and fascinating, it also holds themes of yearning and sorrow, which makes the entire musical a lovely experience to listen to. Comparing the novella to the musical, we have some differences. In the novella, the focus is mainly on 3 men, Jekyll, Utterson, and Lanyon. If you want to include Hyde, then it's 4 men, and a few other characters who were killed by Hyde. One of these victims includes Sir Danvers Carew, a nobleman who had been beaten to death nearly a year after Utterson's friend Mr. Enfield first saw Hyde. In the musical, Carew is more than just a murder victim. He's the father of Lisa, a woman who is going to marry Jekyll. I point this out because first I want to say that Carew being a more common name in the musical means there's more to his death. If he did get murdered in the musical, I can't tell from the songs, due to his daughter being betrothed to him. The other reason is because the novella is compelling enough without love interests. However, the musical has given us 2, Lisa Carew and Lucy, a woman in the red light district of London. While I love a good love triangle in a musical as much as the next person, and a lot of good songs are sung by the love interests, it was odd to reread the novella and realize that Lisa and Lucy are not in the original story at all. However, I did like their auditions and the fact that each woman loved a different man. And I also now realize that Lucy got murdered by Hyde in a jealous rage, and now I'm sad. Another difference between book and musical, the last one I'll mention because I love both forms equally, is Hyde Jekyll's death. In the novella, Hyde's destruction reaches a point where he's possessing Jekyll almost continuously, and he gets killed by the door of his lab falling on him late at night after Utterson knocks it down. In the musical, Utterson shoots Jekyll when Hyde takes over at his wedding reception. He had managed to keep Hyde hidden, but the evil took over one final time and threatened Lisa's life. For me, this ending was perfect for the musical. It definitely shows how futile Jekyll's attempts to banish Hyde were, and the feeling of defeat as Lisa delivers her final line to him, "Go to sleep, my tormented love." While the novella was a perfect mystery that gets resolved by Jekyll's final statement, I also just enjoy listening to the musical soundtrack. The book is wonderful to read, with beautiful descriptions of the mysteries and mannerisms of its time. The musical is a lovely representation of the book, with wonderful instrumentals and a fascinating story. I guess I can say that if you love musicals, listen to the soundtrack, because you probably wouldn't find another musical that good. If you enjoy reading, this book needs to be on a list of novels to read before you die. Would you like me to compare more musicals and their respective books? Let me know below. If you want to know what books I think need to be read at least once in your life, let me know that too. Please remember to like this video if you really enjoyed it. Subscribe, that would really be helpful. I have been Bookie, and I'll see you next month. Bye!